Did I hear this right? That there may be opportunity for DeFi on Lightning Network with the ability to have loans and loan out. Is that what I was hearing, or was that, did I mishear that?
Well, I mean, I guess you can like analogize it. So like, I guess rather than like a loan, like, with a loan, I give you the money, you basically do whatever you want, right? In this case, it's like a lease, right? So like, the thing with Lightning Network is you can say, okay, like, you can analogize to maybe like a city, right? Let's say, so like I have a city, you have a city, basically, you don't have any traffic. You want me to basically build a road to you, right? And that road is effectively the payment channel. It's like the Lightning payment channel itself, right? But in this case, like, I'm not going to like build the road for free because that's going to cost me some money. In this case, the money is going to cost me is the chain fees on chain, but also kind of like the opportunity cost of like, me having like my tar or whatever infrastructure connected to you. So, but in this case, you say, okay, well, build a road to me, and I'll pay you, 3%, for like, whatever period of time, basically, right? So it's kind of like it's a different type of contract in that sense, but this is really cool because, like you were saying, this lets people kind of like earn like yield on their Bitcoin, but also do it in basically a completely non-custodial manner, right? So there's many other things, or maybe they have like an Oracle, or maybe like, you actually kind of have your keys for referrals, but in this case, it's actually fully non-custodial, which is really cool. But in the future, we have a number of other things we're going to build on top of this. For example, like, right now the actual lease payments are basically paid up front, like, directly like a lump sum, we basically put into your account the way pool works, right? But in the future, it's going to become like a streaming interest, right? So now that they have like streaming interest, this means you can actually use the money in real time back on the line and basically re-inject it as well too. But in the future, maybe it's going to even be possible for you to kind of like, even like effectively like sell the future cash flow of your lease to another individual, kind of like bundle that up and then make another transfer again. Once again, all fully non-custodial, right? So it's kind of like a different thing as well too. It's definitely taking a little bit of time for the market to bootstrap, but I think it's just like a new market. And I think the other thing as well, like, we have like a very different attitude. We always try to like make sure things like happen slowly. Once again with Lightning, like, it wasn't like a big, boom 2000. It's kind of like a very gradual thing. We want to make sure things are safe, things are secure, and also like just make sure like we're not like, overhyping or unnecessarily marketing it. We want to make sure we're leading with substance and, making sure we're not like over promising or anything like that. But definitely a really cool thing. You can join it today and like actually start to like, buy channels. And then eventually we kind of like have this like rating system in place to basically make sure like that you're not like buying a channel from maybe like a node that's kind of like lackluster, kind of like the whole market lemons things. So this is also the other thing that we have right now. It's kind of like the node ranking stuff. People call it the boss score. Basically, it's kind of like a way to kind of like diagnose your node and kind of like get additional kind of like, feedback as far as like maybe I need more channels. I don't have enough good peers. My outcome is draft, things like that as well too. So we're definitely seeing that helping a lot because I think in the past people didn't really have any like feedback as to basically like how good the writing node is. Now they can basically like, put in their node in this site, terminal line engineering, and they get a lot of feedback for what's going on. But then in the future, we're going to really expand that a lot to basically like allow other things like recommendations, maybe even automate things like, what's going on in the pool, loop things like that as well too. But I think it's a really cool thing. And people are kind of like realizing, okay, now I can actually put my Bitcoin to use. I can actually like help route payments. I'm part of the network itself. I can earn, money on my yield. I can actually like, send one on leases and also just be part of this network. And this is also a cool thing where it's like, you're actually part of like, the center of the network itself. It's a really cool effect. I think it's the other thing too is like, I think at times people start to like measure the whole like, total value locked in Lightning to like things like on DeFi going on. I think it's very different, right? Because in that case, like the money is like put in basically one place, right? There's no really network effect. Well, in this case, this is a network effect, right? And this meaning that, the actual like value added to each link isn't like linear. This is going to be like, actually, go quadric beyond that. So like every single link added, actually contributes more and more value to the network itself because now it's all this like interconnected, network of channels. If you've seen any like latest kind of like visualization channels, like it's a very like dense network basically at this point, right? I think in the beginning, people were like, okay, it's going to be centralized. It's going to be 3 nodes, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, okay, now there's like 50,000 channels, 13,000 plus nodes. If you call that centralized, I think we have different definitions or something, right? I think really just shows kind of like how robust things are. And also like, it's also a cool thing in that like the marginal cost is very low, right? All you basically need is a computer and some Bitcoin. You can join the network itself. Maybe you're not writing initially, maybe you're accepting payments for like, some business or service or whatever else, but eventually you can kind of like level up and then like actually have like a more specialized role in the network itself. So it's a really cool thing. Definitely also credits like, all the community members, all the other developers who are working on the spec, things like that as well too. It's definitely been, like a long road. It wasn't very like straightforward, a bunch of challenges we had to handle along the way. We're really excited to see where we're going now and like where we are right now as well.
Nice. And for semantics sake, I know some people say, well, yeah, it's decentralized and it's finance involved, so DeFi. But I will say I have heard this term Li-Fi, like Lightning Finance.
Li-Fi. Yeah,
which
I like that.
DeFi, but it's totally different products, different ways to make money. Like you said, being able to lease your node for years and being able to route payments. Yeah. I mean, that's instant network effect when people are like, hey, yeah, I got a Raspberry Pi, cost me $40, got a computer, I got a little bit of Bitcoin, and I'm running a node that is making passive income for years. So I love that idea.
Yeah.
And I love that you're building on that. Yeah. Are there any other developers outside of the Lightning Labs developers? Are there any other developers who are working on things similar on the Lightning Network that you can share with us?
You mean like kind of like Li-Fi type stuff or?
Li-Fi or just building on the Lightning Network that is prominent, people that they can reach out to or look up to? as advice?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, we make LND. There's other companies as well. Blockchain makes something called C Lightning, kind of like a little bit more kind of like, like an embedded node, a little more specialized for like, kind of like smaller embedded devices. And there's also like, Clear. They make like Phoenix, which is probably one of the most popular wallets right now, in terms of like, on the end user design. They actually, did a lot of stuff as far as making the UX a lot more streamlined. But, I think we have a bunch of other things coming out in the future. For example, like, you probably heard of things like DLCs. For example, like those can eventually also be, actually within channels themselves. This is really cool because now at this point, like, rather than like you go on chain every time to basically refresh your contract, or maybe roll it over, you basically just do it off chain. And that's really cool because all of a sudden now I can, have like my wallet. My wallet maybe has, like base Lightning stuff. Maybe I have some other, kind of like, like synthetic stuff on it as well too. I think definitely a lot of potential. Also, particularly, once we get to Taproot, which is like, November, fingers crossed, is really going to like kind of like blow up the space as far as what we can do on top of Lightning itself. And I think, I think that's the other cool thing. Like, as we kind of like, expand layer 1, add more capabilities to it, layer 2 just gets a lot more stronger, right? Because you kind of like, really just like increase the design space as far as what's going on, and then things that can actually happen. Oh yeah, and one other thing I definitely have to shout out, like as far as like that graph, there's definitely like this big community now called PlebNet, and they're kind of like a bunch of like people, they call themselves Pleb. Basically, they're like, okay, well, let me just like start to do a Reddit node. I think it started basically on like Clubhouse. It has like a really strong community now. I remember like I think we looked at it, and I think like have like a website, and like I think it opened like around like 60 or 50 PTC so far just from like kind of that really community right there. I think it's really cool, kind of people kind of like joining these like effectively. It's kind of like a Lightning guild in a sense, right? You have like a community helping you out. They do troubleshooting things like that as well too. I think it's really cool if people get involved in that level, and also this is like a very thing. It was super organic. Like we just like, oh, this thing exists. This is dope. Like the communities are doing their own thing. So I think it really shows kind of like how, it's a thing where there's no like central command. Everyone's kind of like, doing their own thing. At the same time, kind of contributing towards like the same goals and growing everything. It's a beautiful thing to see, definitely.
Oh yeah. You don't have to agree with each other. You don't have to know each other, but you can work towards the same goal. That's what I love about Bitcoin. That's what I love about Lightning.
Exactly.
And one thing I will say is in this industry, you have a lot of different moving parts, but if everybody has the same focus, it's great because now you have corporations, now you have countries, and because of the Lightning Network, countries like El Salvador. How do you think Lightning Network being used in El Salvador may influence other countries to get involved for payments?
Yeah, no, I think we're definitely seeing that. I think it was one of the things where it's one of those things that you can't really undo. And I feel like, even if people feel like they were kind of like downplaying or whatever else, it's kind of something where it's definitely like a big event, right? Like, because if you have like a Bitcoin bingo card, you probably didn't see, nation state adoption in 2021, right? It was even a surprise for me. Remember, like initially I was on vacation and then I was like, oh, they just dropped this. This is dope. Like, like shit, like we gotta get together and things like that. But no, I think it's definitely a big thing because I think it really just shows kind of like the maturity of the network itself as far as, something like this large scale, someone adopting it. I think it's also a big thing because you can say as well too, like this is a big thing just in terms of like people having like lower fees, being able to send small amounts of money as well too. And I think even in addition to like other countries being interested, we're also seeing kind of like other kind of like larger companies themselves like perking like, oh, they're doing it, like maybe it's ready for us, right? So I think it's definitely like a big thing, just kind of like showing like the network is growing up, the community is kind of like getting a lot more mature, things are getting more stable as well too. It's definitely like a really big event. We're super excited to see how like the rollout goes in September as well too, and also exciting in that we're at Lightning, we're actually powering a lot of what's going on the ground with LND, things like Gloy Bitcoin Beach, and we also power Strike as well too. So definitely involved just to make sure like things can actually scale up properly, making sure we're providing like necessary tooling, just in terms of like making sure they can actually like build the wallets effectively, things like that as well. So definitely like really big event. I'm super excited to see exactly how like it rolled out. I think the other thing is cool is also we're seeing kind of like these more like kind of like hybrid, kind of like models. For example, like the whole like community beach, community bank thing that Google has going on, which kind of a thing where they're already there. So maybe it's okay, if it's like side custodial because like, at least they have like other options and they actually have a choice. I think it's a big thing as well with Bitcoin. You actually for the first time have a choice as to, okay, well, am I going to hold my money? You're going to hold my money, right? Versus like everyone's kind of like opted into the system from the beginning, and now it's like, oh, you have a choice. I think that's another big like light bulb. It's like, oh, I can pick. I have discretion. I think that's a really big thing as well. So
yeah, that's good for self sovereignty. That's what it's about, right? And I want to ask you one thing about the future going forward. There is, something like Sphinx Chat, which is built on top of Lightning, where you can get paid in Lightning, just messaging. What do you think about layer 3 technology coming to? I know we're a little early in Bitcoin on Lightning, past 2000. What do you think about layer 3? Do you think that's possible, or do you think it's something that we have to wait for in the future?
Good question. I guess it definitely depends on how you define layer 3. I guess if you define it as kind of like, applications on top of Lightning, that's definitely something I'm really excited about. For example, you have things like, Sphinx Chat, you have stuff like Impervious, you have people like, building, Chrome extensions, you have people like, doing more direct integration into games like Thunder Gaming. You have like a CSGO, where you can actually like, earn money by like just playing the game itself. I think it's definitely like a really cool thing. I guess as far as maybe on the protocol side, I guess to me, a layer 3 thing is more like something, maybe similar to kind of like multi-party channels, where people building kind of like, more synthetic exchanges on top of like Lightning itself. So I think those are kind kind of like merge anything. So, because right now, like Lightning, it's kind of like, it's like a pair relationship, basically two different individuals, like, Alice and Bob kind of having a channel together. In the future, we can have that instead be kind of like a pool of funds in a sense, basically. Now, at this point, like, it becomes more like the internet. So like rather than like me needing to like write every single payment, to other individuals, kind of like, if like, okay, well, I have like the same network as you, we both have Comcast, basically, we can actually route within their internal network itself, then maybe go outside if we really need to. But I think it's really cool because now at this point, you can kind of like, kind of like co-locate like related transactions together in a single place, basically. And then kind of like you have a lot more savings, maybe electric and routing graph, and things like that as well, too. But, I think we'll definitely have a lot more stuff going as Bitcoin continues to evolve, basically. We have Taproot right now. People are working on things like covenants as well, too, that maybe I think will really like transform as far as what's possible in Bitcoin. And at that point, I think, if we get something like that, people really wake up to basically all the possibilities actually happening in the network itself. So definitely, always bullish on Bitcoin. 2021's been a roller coaster so far, and let's see, where we end up at.